BB, don't worry. It's okay. I'll always be with you.
Eyes open, dumbass.
Death Stranding is being the postman from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, but you crush energy drinks and you can take a leak pretty much anywhere. Death Stranding is cinematic. Death Stranding is supernatural Euro Truck Simulator if Euro Truck Simulator was actually fun. Disclaimer, I do like Euro Truck Simulator. Death Stranding is delivering the f***ing mail. Death Stranding is pretty stupid, but in the most unabashedly Hideo Kojima way possible.
I'm fragile.
But not that fragile.
As in somehow, despite all logic, sense, or common decency, it's also kinda cool.
That's the president's right-hand man, the director of bridges.
Die Hard Man?
This is gonna sound like a weird lie I'm making up for the sake of this video, but I swear this is true. When I was a young boy, no higher than a corn cob, that part, maybe slightly disingenuous, I was deeply entertained by the postmen in Zelda games like in The Wind Waker and Majora's Mask. In The Wind Waker, the post people are these fantastical bird folk that are your first glimpse at a world outside the small island you start on. I remember when I got the postman's bag on Dragon Roost Island, I felt like I was also part of that club of people that can go wherever they want, delivering the dang mail. But perhaps more presciently, the postman in Majora's Mask, specifically, was a remarkably strange character. Here's a man whose only purpose or desire in life is running the mail for his community, and he's one who remains dedicated to his post until the gosh darn sky literally falls on his head. And I imagine he'd keep delivering packages even after the apocalypse of Majora's Mask happened if he could, hopelessly dedicated to that which gives him meaning. In Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding, you are the Majora's Mask postman after the moon fell. But your name is Sam Porter Bridges, and you're also Norman Reedus from AMC's The Walking Dead. Hi there, I'm Death Stranding Salvo, and this is Death Stranding. Death Stranding may be the most pandemic-era, quarantine-evoking game on the planet, with humanity literally trapped underground and hiding from the dangerous entire outside environment. I can't help but to be reminded of what it was like during that initial lockdown when I played this game. So indulge me for just a moment while I reminisce. At the very beginning of the pandemic, I was starting a new job as a 911 operator. I chose that new career path because I thought that was something capital N noble to do. Outside of work, much like the rest of the world, I wasn't going out much at all, beyond trips for food. I didn't do much of anything other than hang out at the house with my girlfriend. Those habits remain largely unchanged. After around a year and a half working as a 911 operator, I had to find myself new employment because to be a full-time 911 guy, you kind of have to dedicate your whole self to being one. There's near constant mandatory overtime because someone needs to be there to answer the phones when someone's in trouble. I worked third shift, and I was tired a lot. But working there gave me a fresh perspective on a whole slew of things about both myself and the world around me. I heard a lot of real harrowing stuff, but at the same time I got really good at compartmentalizing things. I worked in a room that was semi-underground, answering phones at a desk, and it's probably the furthest you can get from Sam Porter Bridges' job as a rugged delivery man in Death Stranding. But I think I really connected with the character of Sam Porter Bridges because Sam Porter Bridges is also very prone to compartmentalizing things. When he's working, he's fully immersed in the job and he's really not interested in anything else, and the man is seemingly always on the job. As a 911 guy, I saw my job as something valuable to society, but Death Stranding is if being a mailman was the #1 hands down most valuable thing to society, and I mean, maybe it is. I don't think I have to overtly state how important delivery services were, especially during the pandemic and initial lockdowns, so, I won't overtly say that, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. I don't really know. I don't really know if I get what I'm saying. At great risk of oversimplifying things, Death Stranding is about making connections, mostly of the human variety. It's also about having a little baby child in a jar. Death Stranding is a game that engrossed me while I played it, and once I put it down, it's all I could think about until I fell asleep. Not necessarily just because its story is complex and strange, which it is, but mostly due to the themes surrounding that story and how beautifully woven into the gameplay itself that they are. In Death Stranding, your very first mission is to carry your mother's deceased body on your back, on foot, to the incinerator. All on your own, up cliffs and over a mountain. And also, you have to avoid a bunch of invisible ghost guys called BTs, which is an acronym you'll learn about when you're older. Also, your mother was the first female president of the United States of America, and also the United States of America doesn't exist anymore because everything exploded and melted. It's the United Cities of America now, buddy. From there on, your job is to actually unite the cities of America, which, to be clear, they're not cities. They're more like a collection of bunkers in a blasted wasteland. And the wasteland is remarkably beautiful, though. You do all of this largely on foot, which can be perilous, though you do eventually unlock vehicles that make everything easier, much easier, or a whole lot harder, depending on how good you are at plotting your path out. Though largely the vehicles are a huge net gain, but also, role-playing as an on-foot delivery man absolutely rules, so. Plus, once you unlock things like speed exoskeletons and balancers and whatnot, it's genuinely difficult to fall over and break all your stuff. Playing Death Stranding feels like rolling your sleeves up and getting to work in an intensely satisfying way. One of the purest joys of the game is to take a whole mess of jobs at once, delivering to different bunkers so you can plan your deliveries out based on if one of them is timing based or if you've got fragile cargo, all the while you're accounting for terrain and the fastest path between delivery locations. You're basically playing mail route optimization simulator starring acclaimed actor Norman Reedus, and eventually you'll meander to your final delivery on whatever particular run you're on. I would often make my final mission on these multi-leg runs a story mission. It just feels like a very strong punctuation mark on that series of missions. And normally, these story missions mean you connect the next outpost to the United Cities of America and or the chiral network. This unlocks the online quote-unquote multiplayer of Death Stranding for that outpost area. This online functionality is one of my favorites in any video game I've played. It's elegantly simple in how it connects players to each other, but it does so in a way that doesn't feel like it hampers the single-player experience. Here's what I mean by that. Once you unlock the online functionality, you're able to access other players' structures that they've built. And the structures can range from bridges to lookout towers to even whole entire safe rooms. And these structures make everything more convenient to traverse, generally speaking, but they aren't available until you finish connecting that main bunker, or rather outpost, to the chiral network. Also, I don't think I've explained the chiral network yet, so think of it like magic internet. It's a little more complicated than that, and there's a lot of Kojima-type thinking around it, but it's essentially what allows everyone to communicate with each other over distance, and it also allows you to 3D print the structures that other players and yourself are able to use. Anyway, since the structures are locked behind this chiral network connection, you're playing a completely single-player game until you put everything together. This way you don't feel robbed from finding your own solution to the various struggles of traversal, and then once you connect them, unlock some shortcuts. Another fulfilling thing about this whole system is that structures you build in the chiral network will be seen and used by other players as well. If your structure is good or just lucky, then it'll also get liked by people who use it. And this is such a nice, harmless, and elegant way, I used elegant again, to promote player interaction, and I can't get over how much I love it. Getting likes is cool, giving likes is cool, just give likes, bro. Give likes, you'll get likes. I don't know if that's technically true, but in my experience, if you really want to rake in those likes while simultaneously making useful structures, then build bridges over rough terrain that you cross a lot, and those things absolutely pull in likes. Charging stations are also insanely helpful, and I found myself placing those more than almost anything. There's so many helpful things you can make that you can't really go wrong with much of anything. Except for the lookout towers. I really didn't get the point of the lookout towers. Connecting to the chiral network also unlocks the highway functionality, which is a beautiful project to spend your time on. Completing the highway is insanely rewarding, and I genuinely struggle to think of a more satisfying experience I've had in a game. And I think that's the second time I've said something to that effect about this game specifically. You don't have to build the entire highway either, not all on your own anyway. You can just fill in the gaps that other players have left, all the while you're helping other people around the world. It's so sick. If you have the time and you have the materials, then you just, bro, work on the highway. Build back better, you know what I'm saying? New Deal, the Death Stranding New Deal. I'm riffing it out right now. Interestingly, these structures and highways are impermanent due to the timefall, which I also haven't mentioned yet, but whew, here we go. The timefall may be my favorite concept in Death Stranding, just strictly conceptually speaking. It's literally rain that makes you old, but it doesn't just affect organic life. Everything else gets degraded too. Or rather, rapidly aged, I guess. Your packages, your vehicles, even the multiplayer structures you build and come across. This leads to them needing somewhat regular maintenance or replacement and keeps the world from feeling stagnant once you connect a new outpost to the chiral network. Sam and the other couriers' clothes are blessedly safe from this degradation due to anti-timefall materials, which is nice. I personally absolutely love rain in video games and just rain in general, and the sound design and visual effect of the rain in Death Stranding is stupendous. I also just love the timefall thematically as a reflection of the impermanence of, well, the everything, and how we should always be mindful of the things we build and create for each other's sake so they don't fall to ruin. It's real cool. Moment-to-moment gameplay is another aspect of Death Stranding that sings with brutal simplicity. It's been said a million times over, but yeah, it's kind of true that walking is the gameplay. But it's more complex than just walking is the gameplay. It's like saying jumping is the gameplay in Mario, or running is the gameplay in Sonic. I mean, yeah, that's true. But, dude, quit being a freaking stinker about it. Everything you carry affects your balance, and what terrain you walk on matters. For most cases, you can just hold down the left and right triggers simultaneously and you'll be fine, but that will slow you down pretty tremendously. Optimally, you can feather the left and right triggers as needed while you're running or walking to maximize your speed. You can also individually load up packages in specific places on Sam Porter Norman Reedus Bridges' sizable frame to optimize your balance, but if you just click auto optimize or auto sort cargo, something like that, it will probably do a much better job than you ever could on your own and in the blink of an eye. And no disrespect, bro, it's a really useful button. Once you unlock vehicles, the nuance and the minutia of the moment-to-moment gameplay largely goes away. Most problems can be solved by just ramming headfirst into it over and over again. And this is satisfying to me specifically as a reward for making the trek on foot in the first place, but delivering on foot is probably the most rewarding way to play the game, generally speaking. It's a practice in meditation. In all the best ways, it hits the same spot of my brain that washing the dishes or mowing the lawn does. And it sounds like I'm making jokes, being negative, but I mean this in only positive terms. I actually kind of enjoy washing dishes and mowing the lawn. Finishing a large task piece by piece so you can stand back satisfied, hands on hips, that's what it's all about, brother. I've hardly touched on the story of Death Stranding because it's such a daunting idea, but I can't think of a better marriage of story, gameplay, and theme than this game. Everything melds together to a symphony of familiar Kojima peculiarity.
But it's still alive.
It can't be repaired, and it can't survive outside the pod. Pity it if you want, but the decision has been made. It has to go.
I may do a separate video later on that's about the story of Death Stranding, because I feel as though getting into nuts and bolts of this game's plot could potentially take a very long time, and I already have a hard enough time getting videos out around my current work schedule. But trust me, the story is dense, it's weird. There's a character named Heartman, there's a character named Deadman, and a character named Die Hard Man.
Die Hard Man?
And they're all different people, and also you meet them in reverse order of what I just listed them in. In much the same ways I love the story of Hideo Kojima's preceding work, Metal Gear Solid 5, I love Death Stranding for being a towering labyrinth of strangeness that I can revisit and take something new away from each time. And I gotta say, Norman Reedus does a really good job as Sam Porter Bridges, and somehow I stopped being distracted by being Norman Reedus after the first 20 minutes or so of gameplay, if even that long. It was surprising how easy it was to convince my brain that I was Norman Reedus delivering the mail. Also, quick shout out to Mads Mikkelsen, absolutely murder crushes his part. Every Mads Mikkelsen scene had me leaning forward in my uncomfortable gamer chair in dreadful anticipation.
See the sunset, the day is ending. Let that yawn out. There's no pretending.
Going into it, I definitely was not expecting the amount of love I would have for this game. This is a dominantly good video game. So many themes and ideas just hit the good areas of my brain like an orchestra conductor with a baseball bat. I mean, what other game lets you experience getting winked at by television's Norman Reedus right before he goes to take a piss? And as I was writing this very script, I kept thinking of different core game mechanics and themes that I wanted to touch on, but I'm only human. I gotta get this video out eventually. For a long time, I let online reviewers, not unlike my own self, determine what games I should play. Every reviewer that I respected for a long time all agreed that Death Stranding was doo-doo. So naturally, I avoided even approaching Death Stranding. I'd already predetermined that this monstrous achievement of a video game was not worth my time because another random guy on the internet said so. This game has played an important role in my continual decision to take critics with a grain of salt. If something looks fun or interesting, just jump in there and experience it, Haas. Worst case scenario, it's boring. Best case scenario, it's Death Stranding.
Great. So I'm Mario and you're Princess Peach.